Jerry Tarkanian and his teams are what put the UNLV brand, in every household across the country.
From a sports journalist standpoint, when I got on campus, it was a working lab of national daily breaking news. And there was nothing like it. No internship could beat it at that point because there was always something going on with the basketball program.
Biggest game in town. It was, I could call it the only game in town. I mean, that was sort of it as well, is that everything sports-wise in this valley revolved around UNLV basketball.
UNLV basketball has not seen a Sweet 16 since 2007, close to 16 years ago. Before that 2007 appearance, it had been since 1991, where the Rebels were defeated by Christian Laettner and Duke. It has come to the point where it's hard to even consider this a historic program. But every student should know the UNLV glory days.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being a kid. We were actually in Florida growing up. I remember pretending to be Greg Anthony in my driveway.
And it's hard to define exactly how large Runnin' Rebel basketball was in this town because it truly was the only show, the biggest show in town. Gucci Row, 16,000 to 18,500 people at every home game. Them not losing a home game for 4.5 years. There was nothing like it.
To understand the glory days, you need to understand how UNLV basketball was portrayed. In the 1990 national title game against Duke, there was almost a good versus evil aspect to it in the media.
I mean, Rebels had an image of bad boys, of the bad guys. When they played Duke, it was the good guys against the bad guys, so to speak.
There was a perverse pride in being a Rebel and everything that stands for. It was more us against the world.
In 1990, UNLV delivered the biggest blowout in national title game history, defeating Duke by a score of 103-73. Flash forward to 2023, the Running Rebels are getting blown out of the building at home to Southern University, in front of an almost empty stadium. How does UNLV get back to the glory days?
I mean, that'd be tough. I mean, Tark won 83% of his games, but, it wasn't too long ago when we averaged 15,000 a night, multiple 6 tournaments in 7 years. So I think, just getting back to continuing to build, just having stability.
I don't think they can because I think it was and that's not a slight at Kevin Kruger. That's not a slight at the players of today. It's just such a different time. And I've had a hard time wrapping my mind around it, that it's been 30 years since I was on campus, that it's been more than 33 since they won the national title. And yet it's still a national brand that evokes a certain emotion.
It's tough to build a dynasty like Tark did. Tark just wanted to do it. He did it. He wanted to stay in Vegas. He wanted to build it here. He wanted to do it here. He was dedicated to Vegas. And that part's unique. So you got to have a coach not only that's good enough to build a national power, but that wants to stay.
So it's going to be an uphill battle to get UNLV back to the glory days. And it's been easy for Las Vegas to get lost in the spectacle of sports here. While it is nice to have all these things like the Super Bowl and March Madness, and possibly even the World Cup, I'll end off with Paul Gutierrez explaining how these things might indirectly affect the program.
But like even when the NCAA tournament was here, the regional final was here in March, I did a big story on ESPN.com about it. And I'm like, dude, Tark must just be spinning because of all the fights he had with the NCAA, all the fights he had with his own university. And all of a sudden, they're just welcoming the NCAA in, and all these tournaments that are here, the football games that are being played at Allegiant Stadium that have nothing to do with UNLV. It blows my mind that those things can even happen because, again, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, those things never would have happened without UNLV being involved, UNLV sanctioning it, or UNLV getting a piece of the pie. And that's the way it should be. And unfortunately, it's not.